Hello, welcome. It is Tuesday, and that means it's Transform Your Relationships Tuesday. I'm Laura Rubinstein here with Rhoberta Shaler. Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, how are you today?
I am really good today. Today in San Diego, it poured all night, and that's just a refreshing change. And it's kind of invigorating. I like it.
Yep, the birds are chirping, the sun's back out. I love when it does that. It like rains at night and then
Yeah.
it's fine during the day. So it's great to have this wonderful day, and we're going to be talking, as we decided ahead of time, about the effect of toxic parents on our lives, in our careers, in our businesses. And, a lot of us have dealt with that in one shape or form or another, a biological parent, and a foster parent, adopted parent, a step parent. Uh, you have any statistics on how rampant this might be? And what is a
Well,
toxic parent?
well, those are two huge questions. One thing we know for sure is we do have some statistics on toxic people. And in the first decade of this century, the number of diagnosed people, we talk about toxic people, I call them hijackals. But they're a whole class of people that many of whom are passive aggressive, all of whom are passive aggressive, but many of whom also have some personality disorders. And so, of those people that are actually diagnosable in that first 10 years, the number of diagnosed, and they very seldom go for diagnosis, increased exponentially, like by about 10% in the 10 years. So there's some statistics to say that this is growing, because if it's growing in the diagnosed community and most of them don't go for diagnosis, imagine how many are just simply out there. And then they become your parent, your coworker, your partner, and you're fresh-eyed and bushy-tailed, like, oh, this seems so wonderful. And then the knives come out and the slashing of your self-esteem begins. And so I don't have any statistics, but those, because we have no idea how many are affected. But that statistic also extrapolated to suggest that 1 in 25 people is like this. And I think that the actual truth is more like 1 in 18. No audio.
Wow, that's huge. I'm riveted by that statistic. It's too much. Um, hmm. So we have to have strategies to deal with it. And is there anything we can do to prevent this or lower this rate?
Well, that's not our problem.
Okay.
The problem belongs to the hijackals. But what we can do is stop propagating with hijackals. The thing is that if you recognize it, like I say to people all the time, okay, you got into a relationship, maybe even had children with a hijackal. You have to have a big conversation with yourself. First of all, you got to do your own work, because you have to realize, like I was in a group this morning on Facebook, not one of my groups, but another group, and a woman said, that she felt like it was the worst thing ever because her husband told her that she was behaving like her mother. And she knew her mother was, in her words, narcissistic and abusive. And so her husband knew that he could weaponize that and hit her with that. Well, you're just like your mother. And all these people in the group were saying, oh, well, you should do this, and he shouldn't talk to you like that. And, all of this. And I popped up and I said, I hope you know that if you had a toxic parent and you were raised around them, that you are going to attract, in most likelihood, a toxic partner. And you're not looking at his behavior, you're looking at yours, saying, oh, what did I do wrong? I must have made a mistake. Am I unreasonable? Filled with self-doubt, which is a good place to start. Self-awareness is always the best place to start. But you could tell that this was her pattern. Like, what did I do to annoy him? What shouldn't I have done? Should I be more patient? Should I? And he had done some overt things that she wasn't noticing as wrong on his behalf.
Hmm.
And that's what happens. you become hijackal bait. So you're going to attract one. And then it's comfortably uncomfortable from then on, because subconsciously it's sort of normal from your upbringing. And so you tolerate abuse. And so, yeah, I'm giving you the worst case scenario, but it's true. So can we do something to stop it? Well, I can stop it in my life, because I can say, wow, I see it now. Never saw it before. And hey, not okay with me. But I can't do anything about the hijackal. That's their problem. Audio.
Time to change the behavior that we have and make the decision. So how do we know if we had a toxic parent? What is a toxic parent?
Well, let me talk to you about an article that I wrote for Your Tango, and people can, I'll put it in the comments. And it's called 5 Sad Underlying Beliefs You May Have If You Were Raised by a Difficult Parent. Yep. So there are 5 things that you might not even have thought of. In fact, as I say them, I would bet your tendency is to go, oh no, that doesn't happen to me. Or you make an excuse for it and say, no, that's handled. But if you worked with someone like I do with my clients, we probably could get down deep enough to find that there is some of this lying in the bottom, sabotaging your life and relationships, especially sabotaging your happiness. So like one of them would be that if you were raised by a toxic parent, you really deep down don't believe that anyone can love you. Right? Like the parent never loved you. You were never good enough. You were never right. Everything was always your fault. And so you have that underlying belief that that's who you are and that people will treat you that way. So that might be one thing. You're sitting here today listening to this and say, well, oh no, I know my partner loves me. I know this person loves me. Well, they may. But I'm not talking about whether they love you. I'm talking about whether you believe they love you. That you can actually get your head and heart around the fact and accept love from someone else. Or another of those 5 beliefs is that even though you really, really want to, way down deep, you don't really trust anybody. You've always got that one eye out, right? And another would be that you continuously have trouble with intimacy, letting someone in. I love what Susan Campbell said. She said intimacy is broken down into 4 little words: into me see.
Love that.
And allowing somebody to actually see into you is intimate. So from that point of view, you maybe not find it easy to let someone really know you because you're waiting for them to swap you with it. It's like that woman on Facebook. Like she felt that she'd done something wrong. And in point of fact, by sharing with her husband how her mother had behaved, he weaponized that and then used it as a tool to control her. Oh, you're just like your mother.
Whew. So I think a sign I'm getting is this criticism is, it's not necessarily 100% sign, but it's a key. Like, do I have a toxic parent, or do I just have a parent who's looking out for me and is a little critical on me?
Yeah, well, that's a big question. And the thing is, do they do it all the time? Mm-hmm. Like I was out with my daughter yesterday and we were shopping for clothes. And I said to her, I pulled out something and I said, when I look at something like this, I hear my toxic mother's voice. And, I hate it, but I hear it every time. I look at something and she'll I would behold something up and she'd say, oh, that's just so much tablecloth. And that goes through my head. I see a pattern or see flowers or something. And my mother's voice is right there. Right. So I asked my daughter, I said, what do you do when you're shopping? She said, well, you're in my head. I said, what do I say? She says, will I look good in that? I thought, okay, that's better. That's better. But, funny things like if I'm ever peeling potatoes, and I rarely do that because I don't eat potatoes, but throughout my life, I've peeled a lot of potatoes. Always on my shoulder, mother going, you're taking off too much skin. We don't have money to throw away, And I turned to that little person. I was like, I have all the money in the world that I need for buying potatoes. But the distinction that you're making is, yeah, if it's happening too frequently, that person wants power over you. They're not there to help you. They're not, somebody who's there to help you say, well, what do you think? Do you really think that's a good choice? Did you weigh your options? They get into an equal conversation with you. But a person who's hypercritical is like up, down. You're down here. They're going to tell you, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You didn't think about that. What's wrong with you? That kind of thing. And you're always living from that, place of, okay, what's she going to say now? Or what's he going to do now? And that's a terrible place to live from.
So we talked about one of the impacts of living from that place is
Constricted place. Yeah.
it's a very constricted, it's not a very happy place. You're never feeling good about yourself. You might not even know this though, because this is so familiar, but you do attract, one of the effects is attracting a similar type personality to as a partner, as a friend, as someone you spend a lot of time with, as a boss, as a, it could be anyone in your life. So the minute you get some awareness, if you're watching this today, you probably have some awareness that there are toxic people in my life. What do I do about it?
Yeah.
Standing up for a lot of people call it standing up for oneself. I think that's one aspect of it. And it takes many forms. Where would someone who's new to recognizing, oh my gosh, I might be with a toxic person here, boss, family member, mate, best friend. What's like a first step to like start coming into their own space and realizing, wait, I don't have to be subjected to this abuse?
Well, first of all, you got 5 steps ahead because you were able to say it's abuse, right?
Yes.
So high five
And that's
to
a
you.
big term. We should talk about it. Abuse
Yeah.
doesn't just look physical. It's like those critical words pounding you down time after time, you weaponizing your own words. When you tell somebody something and they use it against you, that's like big ding, 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 red flag.
Yeah, it is. And I just did a YouTube video. It's up on my channel for relationship help. And it's called, Are You Actually Experiencing or Have Experienced What's Really Abuse? Because people don't want to call it that. Because when you've been abused, you're afraid to speak up and tell your truth. And so to be able to say that that's abusive instead of, I don't like the way you speak to me. Big difference, right? So being able to actually come to recognize that what happened to you was abusive, and where we seem to have more difficulty identifying that is in the realm of verbal and emotional abuse. We're kind of good with what is sexual and physical abuse, but we're kind of gray on what is verbal and emotional abuse. And why is that? Well, particularly if we've been raised by a toxic parent, we then are normalized to that, and we think we did something to cause that, because that's what the child brain does. It locks in the idea that I needed those people. They told me who I am. They don't like me very much. They've told me all these things about me. And so I'm still operating from that. So we have to wake up to that. And I have 2 tools people can have. They're both cost-free. You can go to passive-aggressive.net and take the passive-aggressive checklist, because all hijackals are passive-aggressive. Not all passive-aggressive people are hijackals. So you can learn some things about behaviors with your partner or your mother in mind, or your father or whomever. And the other thing is I have a free ebook called How to Spot a Hijackal. You get that at hijackals.com. So there are ways for you to start to say, oh, that's what that is. So you start identifying that it is abusive behavior. Abusive behavior is simple. Anything that is designed to hurt you is abusive behavior.
Bottom line, wow. Anything that is, when you say designed to hurt you, like what if it's
intention,
intentionally
Yeah,
hurtful?
and I have to clarify that, because it's not, a hijackal doesn't say, how can I be mean? A hijackal just is. So it's not their intentionality. They don't lay awake at night saying, how can I make your life miserable? They have learned that, but it is intentional in that they do not see it. They will not fix it. So therefore they choose it. So abuse is when somebody's behavior hurts you. Let's put it that way. And that you look at it and it's not you being hypersensitive, nothing. You have figured out that the behavior is abusive and you feel abused, not that you are making it up, or you are, as I said, hypersensitive, or wanting to be a victim, or any of those things. Clear that up for yourself, but come to understand what abuse looks like and what it sounds like and what it feels like, and give it its right name. Because somebody's going to react to you when you say that. They're going to say, how dare you say I'm abusive? This behavior is abusive.
I actually remember saying that after a relationship ended. I don't know that I experienced the abuse in the relationship, but after, during the breakup, I was like in a conversation and it felt very hurtful. And then I wound up saying to the guy, wow, I just got what it's like to feel like an abused child
Uh-huh.
out of this interaction that we've been having the last 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it really woke me up. I said it mostly for myself. I was never going to see this person again. We were broken up and we were just finishing up our breakup details. And it was really a wake-up call to me to say, oh, but I can make a choice. I can look for these things, these signs.
Mm-hmm.
I can recognize the feelings when I feel hurt by another's actions and or words. And I don't have to take it. I can call them out on it, number one, and then I can make a decision, number two, to take care of myself, because if I don't take care of myself, nobody else is.
Yes. Yay.
That's the magic wand.
That's the magic wand, is when you realize that you do not have to put up with the behaviors of others that cause you pain. Right?
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah. And that takes a lot, because if you've been with a mother, particularly a mother, or a dominant father for a guy who just he cannot please, can ever live up to, then your world is skewed, your worldview is skewed about yourself. And so it's important to do some work. It's important to get with somebody who understands what is involved in all of that. I've had way too many clients who've gone off to somebody with their hijackal partner, and they've gone to see a professional. The hijackal seduces and manipulates, exploits the professional, gets the professional onto their side, and then they both attack the person who really came for the help. Like, please see what's going on and fix this. So if you're going to go to someone, make sure that you interview them and find out that they understand what it is like to be with a person who has these characteristics. Because if they don't understand it, particularly if they've not experienced it, and I would even go so far as to say, maybe go to somebody who has experienced it and proven that they have overcome it, that their life has been completely changed from that. And I know that's asking a lot, but I've just had too many clients from many places in the world who have been to maybe 2 or 3 different professionals. And each time the person who went there to be seen finally and have somebody see what's going on was rewounded by the collusion of the hijackal and the professional. So you do need to search for help carefully. And that's, of course, why I do so much writing and so many videos, is because I want you to know how to do that. Because you're not here to suffer. That's not the reason, right?
And I want to highlight that, because going to different counselors or therapists or coaches, there are different levels of expertise. And I wouldn't even say levels. There are different perspectives and different strengths that different providers offer. And just because one may have been a bad apple for you doesn't mean that you shouldn't stop. Keep searching. If you're in pain, like you said, Rhoberta, you don't have to be in pain. You get to grow. You get to experience your own power. It just takes, and you don't have to do it alone. Keep searching for the right person to help you, the right professional. Rhoberta, you're an amazing professional for this for the exes, partners, and spouses of these chronically difficult people. You take such a perspective, a focused, laser focused perspective. It's not like giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. It's like saying, no, there's a problem here and we're zeroing in on it. You're like the surgeon of this, the specialist
Oh, I
in
like
this
that.
area.
Thank you.
And not only that, you generously give and give and give and give through your Facebook groups, through your free downloads, through your website and your blog and your e-newsletters. So if anybody's in doubt, go to forrelationshiphelp.com and just start to get to know Dr. Rhoberta. She is a resource, even if you're not involved with a chronically difficult person. It's a fresh perspective. So that's why we do this, transform your relationship. That's why I do it, because we both have such strong feelings and such incredible breakthroughs that we help people get to.
Yes.
By working with them and by bringing them just a simple perspective sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of what we do, because you do things that are of a different nature than I do, and sometimes we need more than one professional to get something done, you know. And thank you for your kind words. The way that I think about it is, because I was raised in a lair of hijackals and had to overcome that, and of course married a hijackal, divorced one, and co-parented with one. And as well as having a PhD in psychology, I had to figure out way back then, which is 30 years ago, I had to find my own path, because there weren't people who could help me. We hadn't outed this kind of abuse. And, I'll give you an example. I think I mentioned this on another show. In my weekly radio show, the Relationship Help Show, I had a guest. He's a psychologist. And I said to him, because it's all about saving marriages, and I said to him, well, what do you think how does a person make a decision to leave? And he said these words, Laura. He said, just sit back and look at all the relationships your partner has. And if they're all good except the one that they have with you, it's your fault. Honest to goodness, I went through the camera down his throat. I mean, I did it. You are a psychologist with a PhD, and you do not know anything about hijackals. Because hijackals paint a public picture of perfection, and at home they handle it like hell, right? And you go out and you say, this happened at home, and everybody says, that's not the person I know. And if you don't go to somebody who knows your private hell, who understands that could happen, and be careful, you don't go to somebody who's trying to turn everybody into a hijackal, but who can help you discern, like, is it me? Is it us? Is it them? What's going on? How do I do it? And what do I do about raising children in this circumstance? Like, I wrote to somebody on somebody's Facebook group this morning, because I'm always in there. I don't tell anybody what I do, but I say, oh, did you think about this? And I wrote to her and I said, if you don't stop to think and get some perspective right now, this rut that you're in is going to continue. And here's, a couple things that you ought to consider if you want to get out of the rut. We've got to stop ourselves in our tracks and say, what's really going on here? I'm going to take off any rose-colored glasses I have. I'm going to put away any denial that I have, and I'm going to say, okay, let's look in plain sight. What's going on here?
And without I'm not good enough. Like,
Yeah.
we have to take off that filter too. I'm not good enough. He's perfect, or she's perfect, or they're perfect. No, it's just like, what are the facts? And what are the feelings? And, and we have to start to kind of like slow down and put this puzzle together, or dismantle the puzzle pieces that are all in a blob.
Well, that's the way they are. And it's a bit like having a ball of string. After a while, you don't know where the end is. So you don't know where to pull to start unraveling it. And that's what someone like me can help with, because I can ask all the questions to determine where the end of the ball of string is, or where the ball of string even got started. But, you talk about intention a lot, and bring that to our conversations. And I hope everybody has a high intention for their own good. And this is where things kind of fall apart in this equation we're talking about today. is if I think everybody else should be taken care of and I'm on the bottom of my list, and you said it earlier at the beginning of the show, self-care. Self-care starts with not saying, oh, I think I better get some sleep because I got to deal with something awful tomorrow. It's like, I better sit back and think about there's something awful I have to deal with tomorrow.
I need to take care of myself first and yeah, get into this. Oh, always a lively conversation. I do want to encourage everyone once again to go to forrelationshiphelp.com. I feel like we need a little jingle here. And or like you said, the hijackals.com. It was also passiveaggressive.net.
Yeah, with a dash,
Passive. Oh,
passive-aggressive.net, you can get the checklist. And just a word for anybody who's touched by anything that I said this morning, I'm going to be doing my 2-day retreat in New York in May and in San Diego in June. And it's called the 3 R's: recognizing, realizing, recovering from hijackals.
ooh,
So if this is something that you can go, yeah, I need that, there's a very short window to get into the New York one. And that closes on the 4th of March, 6th of March.
cool.
Is
And where do they go to find this?
Yeah, I wanted to have a real quick URL to tell you about that, but you go to forrelationshiphelp.com/spring retreat.
Okay, we'll put it in the comments for you all as well. And
And
if
it's
you
limited to 12 people. So you get really in-depth work, and you get the chance when you buy a ticket, you get the chance to buy not only that ticket, but 6 coaching sessions to follow. And it's really well priced until March 6th, and then it's just regular price. So,
cool,
yeah.
awesome. And if you need any support, hypnosis or otherwise, transformtoday.com with your
Or straightforward common sense, because Laura is so full of straightforward common sense as well.
thank you so much. It's been another fabulous episode and time together as usual. If anybody wants to leave comments or questions, we appreciate you watching us and or sharing the love. Share our video with a loved one, a friend, someone who needs this or just would be entertained by us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another edition of Transform Your Relationships Live.
Bye, Laura.
Bye, Roberta.